Hey everyone, this is Mitchell All Trades and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Michelle. I'm a registered nurse and a nurse practitioner student, and this channel is basically all about my life as a nurse and an FP student. If you're an oldie but a goodie, welcome. Good to see you here. Thank you for clicking on this video. Thank you for being a supporter. I really appreciate you from the bottom of my heart for just looking at little old me and thinking, oh my gosh, let me follow her and stuff like that. So thank you. This video today is targeting all my new grad nurses. My student nurses are going to be graduating soon. Basically the students that are starting their field, beginning to walk into like the nursing world, the nursing field, and be professional nurses that had just recently graduated from school. A lot of like hospital mistakes, a lot of like nursing care mistakes, patient care mistakes, whether detrimental or incidental or life-threatening or harmless. Most of them are found within that stage between like graduating nursing school and I would say the first year or two of getting into the nursing profession. There are lots of mistakes that I've made as a nurse when I first started, and I want to give you guys some tips, some key things to make sure you don't do. I would say one of them is to make sure you make it a habit to scan your medications. Now you might start working as a nurse and you might see some seasoned nurses who just, do things their way, which is like, whoa, what's going on? They're like doing their own things that might be a little illegal. Don't follow them, okay? For one, they've been working there long enough to know the ins and outs of what they're doing. And as much as like it might not be ethical or whatever the case is, that's on them. You as a new nurse, you're very, very like fragile and unsteady, and you're just at a higher risk of doing something crazy. So make sure you scan your meds. Don't override them, or don't just like give it to them and backtrack and document. No, don't do that. Make sure you give your meds and you scan them and scan the patient. It sounds very like minute or very like common sense wise, but that's a habit you want to keep cultivating as you keep on going. One thing I want to tell you guys is to make sure you know what medications you're giving your patients. I always tell every nursing student this. Whenever I have a nursing student that's shadowing me for the day, I always let them know, listen, when you're giving meds to a patient, make sure you know what you're giving them. One, because it helps you be more accountable for the expected response of that medication to the patient. At least you know what to expect from it. Two, it makes you look more competent when they ask you, hey, what medicine is this? Why are you giving this to me? And you can explain to them in detail why they're getting a certain medication. And three, for your own knowledge, for your own understanding, as nurses, it might seem like we're trained to just follow orders. Honestly, we're also in charge of monitoring a patient and making sure that the treatment plan that's been put for them is actually helping them get better. We are also to keep everyone accountable as far as what medication is being ordered and how it's been given to them. You want to make sure you know what medications you're giving, because for just a simple example, if a patient's on a blood pressure medication and you don't know that a certain medication lowers their blood pressure, if you don't know that information, you might keep giving the patient a medication that lowers their blood pressure, and you're wondering, why is this patient's blood pressure 85/60? Why is the blood pressure 90/60 or 90/62? Why is this patient's blood pressure always low? Look at the meds that they're getting. Follow up, make recommendations, consult with the team, and just, be accountable for what you do. Form the habit of good documentation. Oh my gosh. Form the habit of good documentation. That is something you want to know how to do. That is a habit you want to keep. You don't want to ever be sloppy in your documentation, because man, when auditing happens and your documentation is sloppy, oh my gosh, it can honestly make you look very guilty and something you probably was very innocent in. And that's just the honest truth. So you want to make sure that you're good in documenting, whether it's things that happen in the patient's room, whether you have to write it as a note or some kind of documentation form. You want to make sure you document it. And it sounds very tedious when you're doing it. It might seem very like, oh my gosh, she's wasting time and stuff like that, but it's important that you learn how to do that. Another thing that you want to make sure you do is don't be afraid to ask questions. Guys, don't be afraid to ask questions, whether it's to the doctors, to your fellow nurses. You don't want to ever make a mistake by yourself. You want to make sure you ask questions. Ask questions till you feel confident enough in what you're doing. I know at first you don't want to look like a dumb person or someone that doesn't know what they're doing, but honestly, who cares? I've learned in this life that as long as I get what I want, or get what I need, or get what's beneficial to me, I don't care how stupid, quote unquote, or dumb, quote unquote, that I look. As far as I get the job done and everyone is safe, no one is harmed in the process, I don't care. So that's something that you want to cultivate, because sometimes people come to work and they make it like a little high school place where they try to categorize people and put themselves in a higher status than others, or all that stuff. That's immature. Like, we're dealing with real lives here. We're dealing with people's lives. So it's important that you make sure that you're doing the best that you can as a professional and making sure that patients are getting the best care that they're getting. Another thing I want to tell you new grad nurses is to study as well. Make sure you study. When you first start, you're going to be very unfamiliar with a lot of things that you don't know. Make sure you write them down, you look them up, you Google them, you do a little research. You want to make sure you keep your brain going, because as much as you learn a lot in nursing school, there's a lot you still have to learn in the field that you don't learn in school. So you still need to do your due diligence of learning and studying. So that's something important that you have to learn. I mean, this was a little more superficial, but I do say, like, try and look well kept and neat and stuff when you come to work. Don't come in looking like you literally rolled out of bed. That's just common sense, honestly. And if that's not common to you, then I'm looking at you sideways. Find a healthy work-life balance, because when you start, you're going to be overwhelmed at the amount of workload that you're doing, a lot of physical work and mental work that you're doing, working as a nurse for 12 hours. So it's good to form some kind of balance that you can do, some kind of life balance, that when you're off of work, you have something that can de-stress you, make you feel better. Try and, like, form some kind of work-life balance. I think that's very, very important. A lot of people, they burn out so quickly because there's no balance in their life. They're working so much at work, they're not taking care of themselves at home, and it leads to a lot of overwhelming feelings and burnout. And that's something that you want to make sure you attack head on and be proactive with. For me, I do a lot of things outside of work. I go to the gym, I socialize, I make sure I rest, I watch TV, do things that relax me. My off days are my sacred days. Honestly, don't call me to come to work. Oh, I'm sorry to managers. But my off days are my sacred days. I make sure I rest, I recharge, and that's something that works for me. Anything I do more than that tips off the balance and I get burnt out. So I try to make sure that I make time for myself, and even to do creative things like make videos and do video shoots with other people. So that's something that I try to do. So for new grads, make sure you find a work-life balance that works for you. And another thing, this will be my final advice, make sure you find the passion in your work. That's the only thing that can keep you going. Find the passion. If a specialty is something you don't like, feel free to switch and explore. Find something that you're passionate about, because honestly, like, yeah, the money is great, but it'll come to a point where you're gonna get so angry and frustrated. The money is not gonna be satisfying for you anymore. You're gonna do things for the wrong reasons, and patients are being affected by your actions. So it's always good to find passion in your work. If you love working with kids, find yourself in pediatrics. If you love working with pregnant women, find yourself in obstetrics and L&D, labor and delivery unit. If you like emergency room, find yourself in that environment. Like, do things where you find a passion in your work. And I know it's easier said than done, because work in itself is just tedious, but it's important to have something, at least some kind of love or passion for your work. And if you feel like you haven't seen that currently, nursing is a very big and broad field. You can work outside of the bedside, you can work in IT, you can work in insurance, you can work legal affairs, you can work anywhere with a nursing degree. So make sure you find a passion, feel free to explore, make sure you're learning, make sure that you are doing the right thing, documenting well, make sure you are not forming cliques, make sure you ask questions, and just build yourself up individually and professionally. I love you guys so much. Thank you for staying tuned and watching this video. Make sure you like this video, give it a thumbs up, make sure you subscribe and share with a friend. If you have any comments, feel free to write them down below. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.